Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Manchester United podcast, Never Ignored. I'm joined by Imti,
Yo,
and today we'll be covering our post match thoughts on Manchester United versus Tottenham, Manchester United versus Sheffield United, and then we'll spend some time previewing the games against Norwich in the FA Cup and Brighton and Hove Albion. So, first things first, Manchester United versus Spurs, a 1-1 draw at the new Spurs Stadium. Imti, what were your thoughts?
yeah. I thought we played okay. We had most of the ball, I thought, and we created most of the chances. We definitely should have done better with the with the goal. Definitely a bit of rustiness in defence, and yeah, I think De Gea probably should have saved
So
it
let's talk
on the
talk
balance of
about that.
things. But
What are your opinions on it? How do you think who's to blame?
I mean, he did hit it straight. He hit it straight at him. Um, he connected reasonably well, but it was it's a save for you to expect someone like De Gea to make, right? Um, But in the grand scheme of things, I think after Sheffield, we've kept 10 clean sheets in the last 13
Yeah.
games. There's only 3 goals conceded in that time, so
For me, yeah, I agree.
you know,
He should save it. He should because it isn't a shot that's away from him. I can see. I think he had a lot to do because of where Bergwijn's hit it at him. It's come so close to his it's that horrible area that goalkeepers hate having shots at. It's between the shoulder and the neck. Because you
yeah,
just can't bend your elbow quick enough up there. But yeah, Bergwijn's hit it well. Bergwijn's credit to him as well. He's hit it in a way that normally as a keeper you can kind of read if they're going to put it in on the left or right of you. But he's gone for the approach, and I've noticed actually. I think he scored 3 goals, and all 3 of them have been the same. He doesn't pick a corner like most strikers will do. He just hits it towards the goal. And it can go anywhere. It can go at the keeper. It can go low left, low right. But he does truly just hit it as hard as he can, which is an approach that seems to work from that distance. And yeah, I think
it's working for now, I guess. But yeah, I don't know how beneficial that'll be for
exactly,
him long
yeah,
term.
and then he leaves De Gea with I think a small chance of saving it. Yeah, but yeah, credit to him, it's gone in. I think Maguire and Shaw really let De Gea down with the defending in that goal. Maguire's taken a risk and he's assumed that Bergwijn is going to take it down the wing, which he doesn't. He brings it straight through the centre. And Shaw's clearance initially was quite poor. That header, it just if you can head out,
Yeah, and then he was out of position as well for
yeah, he was out of position for
the
most of
actual
that
move.
first half, wasn't he?
Yeah, I noticed it a bit in the Sheffield game as well. He was out of position a lot, but I don't know. It's early days. I don't know. I'm more willing to forgive the mistakes on the pitch like that because it just seemed like a bit of rustiness rather than.
Yeah, so it was our first game back
Um,
after a long time. So were you happy with the result?
uh, I mean, yeah. When you put it in, if we drew that and then we lost to Sheffield or drew to Sheffield, then I'd have been disappointed. But 4 points out of those 2 games, it's not too bad
Yeah.
considering everyone's league positions and how soon his first 2 games back.
So when I was
Um,
watching that game, one of the things I think I observed was first of all, Lloris had a really good game, which was annoying because
Yeah, it was unbelievable, right? I'm wondering for him whether maybe without the fans, he's a bit everything's a bit
yeah,
easier for him.
no, I it's a good point. I think he might be one of those players because the fans do get on his back because he sometimes people say, oh, he's this guy
Yeah,
World Cup winner.
and he had those off the field issues at one point as well. He gets a lot of stick, so maybe he's benefiting from not having because he's always been a good goalkeeper. He's had a lot of mistakes in him, but he was very very good against us, which is
Yeah, he
disappointing.
was really good. I was certain he was going to save the penalty because he had such a good
Yeah,
game.
it felt like that kind of
Yeah,
moment, right?
and I think
Um,
Martial he kind of also made Lloris's job slightly easier when he kept taking too long on the ball within the box. He was taking too many touches, and I was saying to you that he
yeah.
just
I mean that second chance I thought was a good save, but before that he's had a couple where he probably should have
yeah
done better.
he was just lacking that clinicalness, which obviously we'll come on to because he obviously goes on and does the complete opposite in the next
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard
game. Yeah.
criticizing him when 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 he's gone and scored a hat trick yesterday.
What did you think of
It kind of makes us
what did you
sound.
think of
But
Daniel James in that game against Spurs?
I think it was kind of the kind of performance he was giving towards the end of the well. I keep calling it last season, but we'll call it last season for now. The end of the previous whatever we call it. Um, he just looks a bit burnt out still. I know we've had a long time out, but It's been a good first season for him, but I think at the moment I'm not sure if I'd be
Yeah, I
starting him.
think personally, if I was a manager, I would bring him on in the last 10, 15, 20 minutes because I can't,
Yeah, where can you just pace?
especially in like the current climate. You know, the weather's getting warmer within England, and defenders are getting more and more tired. And obviously, you factor in that they're coming back from what is essentially a preseason type break. Bringing on a player with that much
Yep.
pace would be, I reckon, frightening for a fullback. I still think he needs to improve his crossing and his final decision, whether that be a cross or a shot or a dribble past the guy. I think he did us too much with that. But yeah, in terms of his physical ability and the pace, it is really good. He just needs to work on, I think, getting that as a strength and adding that to.
Yeah, and I mean he's young. He's young, and I don't think he was ever going to be signed to be the main right winger. He's always going to be a squad depth option and someone you can bring off the bench. And I think he's got a good future at that. And yeah, I think he's even. I mean, he's only scored 3-4 goals, but he's got quite a lot of assists as well. He does a good job, especially I think that City game he really shone. Where if you're breaking on, I think this kind of game didn't suit him because we had the ball a lot. We controlled the game, so maybe his pace isn't as useful in that situation. But when we had games where we just sat and like a City game and break quickly, those are the ones that are going to suit him more.
What did you make of
Um,
Pogba starting on the bench?
I think it's only I think it's the right decision because I mean, and obviously everyone's not played for 4 months, whatever. But Pogba had barely played for 3-4
Yeah,
months before that. So basically, in the last calendar year, because June now, right? So a year ago, this time would have been at the end of the season. He would have played what 3-4 games, if that's maybe including preseason, and in like a whole calendar year. That's a long time to not play many games.
I
Um,
think.
so we got a lot of games coming up. I wouldn't want to have seen him brought in too quickly. And Fred McTominay. You, you could argue that both of them didn't deserve to be dropped straight away anyway. So I think it's the right decision to have him on the bench.
Yeah, based on the form that them guys had shown prior to the lockdown, they certainly deserve that, I think, starting spot. And fair play to Pogba as well. He comes on and he really shows the difference that he brings to the rest of the team.
He definitely he changed the game. He changed the game a bit when we were looking a bit
Yeah,
stale. Um, but yeah, I think it's the right decision, and it showed. I mean, he managed to play 65 minutes against
yeah.
Sheffield as well.
So
So
when he comes on, the way
um,
he twisted up Eric Dyer was, yeah, I think only him on the pitch could do that. His strength and his technique for
yeah,
his size.
yeah, I think it's something only he does. I mean, we've got skillful players, but the person who's got the best kind of ball control and that kind of ability is definitely him. Um, so yeah, I can't imagine anyone else doing it. Maybe Martial might be able to do it. But Pogba definitely he's the one who does it most often, and he used it to good effect. I think he did it early in the season against
Yeah,
Wolves as well
certainly.
when he won a penalty and then missed it.
What did you think? So this game
But
was quite strange, as in Sky Sports had a field day with their social posts because Roy Keane had a bit of a insane meltdown.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, lots of people picked up on the Keane stuff. I didn't actually watch the halftime thing, but um, I saw a few articles kind of saying this is why he's not employed in football anymore.
Yes,
Um, and it kind of makes sense because I mean, it was a bit over the top. Like we said, De Gea should have saved it, but first game back, you got to cut people some
his
slack, right?
statement, his reaction
And
was
it's now 10 clean sheets in 13.
his
Sorry,
reaction was to say that David De Gea was the most overrated goalkeeper of all time, not even in the last few seasons. Which
I know, like for good 4 or 5 years, he was easily the best keeper in the world. So I don't know where he's getting most overrated of all
I
time.
think Roy Keane's got to that
Um,
stage in his career where maybe he knows that the more sensational kind of stuff he says keeps him in the job. So maybe that works for him.
yeah, I guess it drums up the views as good social media
Yeah,
content, right?
exactly that.
Um,
But overall, a good
but yeah,
result.
I thought Evra's post the next day was quite funny when he's turned up in a taxi and said Yeah, if any United players need one, I've got attacks in
Everyone
now.
was fantastic. So I was watching the coverage after the game for a bit, just reabsorbing the fact that the Premier League was back, Manchester United were back, and Evra kept he kept purposely trying to get under his skin, and he made a couple comments like, "Oh guys, if anybody needs a lift back to Manchester, I'll take you back. I'm more than happy." And kept really trying to make that point that look, I'm Manchester United through and through. I don't care. I think he was trying to show Keane that as an ex-Man United legend, there's some kind of some things you could probably keep to yourself rather than increasing the pressure and the spotlight, and which is what I really love, and I think everyone loves about Patrice Evra.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess yeah. So for every Rory Keane, you got an Evra
Exactly.
as well. Right? So
And also overall, a 1-1 result. I was a bit disappointed that we didn't come away with 3 points just because of the amount of pressure we had on them. But I was also pleasantly. I felt happy that we no longer had Mourinho as our manager, because I kind of finally.
yeah, I mean the way they played it was kind of. I mean, you notice it more when you're against it rather than with it. But as soon as they got that lead, they just completely shut up shop and were like, all right, that's it.
I think
We're
I
not
think
doing anything anymore. I think Kane was playing like holding mid
yeah.
for most of the second half,
I think as
basically.
Manchester United fans, we went from Louis van Gaal to Mourinho, so we didn't get that stark contrast of exciting football. But
Yeah, we kind of just thought this is what football
yeah,
is
we were
now,
just like, oh,
basically.
they didn't pass it backwards; they passed it sideways. This is improvement. Um,
Yeah,
so that's probably why we didn't notice at first. But yeah, certainly, I'm glad that we've got in a manager with Ole. I think he's playing a bit more exciting football. So speaking of exciting football, a nice win.
yeah. I was going to say there's we start from
Yeah,
the Sheffield game, I guess, isn't it?
a super win, 3-0 to
Um,
Sheffield at
yeah,
home in inverted commas. Let's start with Old Trafford. Actually, it looked fantastic, didn't it, with all the banners and the colours and
yeah. They did a nice job. Obviously, it's still not the same as actually having fans there, but I mean, they did what they could. I definitely prefer what they did to those stupid screen things they had at some of the other grounds showing like the fan zone or whatever. I think that's been scrapped quite quickly. So I'm pleased about that.
so we had a very good start
Um,
to that first half against Sheffield. Sorry, I must be
yeah, I mean
specific. The
even
first quarter
the
before the water break.
the lineup was good. I was encouraged by from the from the start. Obviously Sheffield haven't had a great time since the restart, but they're still a good team. So it was a pretty attacking lineup, and that was nice to see. I mean, you got Bruno, Pogba, Greenwood, Martial, Rashford. That's pretty much as attacking as you can get at the moment for us.
I was really
Um,
glad to see Greenwood get his start. I think he deserved it.
yeah, he's earned it. I think. Even before the lockdown, he was pushing. Um, so yeah, I mean, I got no complaints with the starting lineup, and I thought Matic had a great game actually. Speaking of the
Yeah,
midfield,
he had a very good game. He's very
but
composed in the middle and bringing the ball out. So the first goal.
yeah, I mean, one of the journalists I followed on Twitter, he said there's a rumor that Matic gave the ball away in his under sevens game about 30 years ago, but no one could confirm it. So which I think is about right because
Sounds
he
about
just
right.
he just controlled the game. He just every time he got the ball, he just easily passed it
What do you
off.
think
And
of so our
no,
first goal, the way Rashford absolutely all one square smashes it into the near post?
it reminded me of how he used to deal with open goals. Right, it was anytime he was clean through and the keeper was nowhere to be seen, he just used to absolutely hoof it into the
I
net.
start some speculation that was
Um,
actually a shot from Rashford.
yeah, yeah, maybe it was just a terrible shot, but yeah, as he was in my fantasy team, I'll take the
Yeah,
assist
no,
points.
it was a really
But
good.
yeah, it was good, and it's nice to see Martial in that position. That's what we want
So one
from
of
a
the I
striker.
think improvements that we've wanted to see from Martial, and me and you we've discussed it before, is that lack of clinical finishing, and he really showed in this game that he does have it, because he was very clinical, almost too clinical if we talk about the Pogba insane dribble, but we'll speak about that shortly. But yeah, he was very clinical, as in he was just first time shooting before the defender and goalkeeper even get a chance to react.
Yeah, I mean, those are the situations where you don't want to mess about taking too many touches and whatnot. You just get out, even if you need a touch, get out your feet and shoot. But he's just both the first two goals were first time
Yeah,
finishes,
I
right?
think that if he can
Um,
continue that into the next season, that'll be the difference between a 15 goal season and a 25 goal season. Um,
yeah, but so that's the thing is, can he do that on a
yeah,
regular basis? I don't know, because he's shown glimpses before, like even the goal he scored against Chelsea the first day of the
yeah,
season, that was inside the 6 yard box. You know, if he gets in those positions, he will score goals. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you can't criticize him for
No,
yesterday,
no.
but it's just about making it more
And then
consistent.
shortly after we score that first goal, Martial goes through and he gives that little square pass to Rashford, who I'm not too sure. Maybe he was too much into his stride for him to control it, or it's just not his foot in the right
Yeah, I
place.
think it just got mixed up. His feet got muddled, and he just missed it. It was unfortunate. Let's pretend it hit the defender. I think it was a goal. Corner. It should have been a
I
corner.
see my FIFA playing instincts kicked in, and as soon as I saw Rashford making that run, I knew there was only one place that ball could go, and that was in to Rashford for a tapping into the open goal. But yeah, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that. But then overall, that first
Yeah,
half, or let's be up until that water break, shall we say? United played some really good football. They really controlled the game. Pogba was
yeah. It seems to happen in the Spurs game as well. Up until the drinks break, they played better. Then I don't know when they have these breaks, they seem to maybe take a little bit longer to get going
is the
after.
drinks break like almost a new kind of mini half time? It's a little chance for them to get together,
Kind of,
restructure
yeah.
themselves, and maybe the manager give a couple words if you can. Um,
So I don't mind it. Like yesterday, it was roasting, right?
it
So
made
I
complete
mean,
sense. Yeah.
fair enough, right? But on some of the previous games, it was like raining and cold, and it's like, do you really need a drinks break now? But um, yeah, I think you got to look after the players somehow, I guess. So
Yeah,
yeah, leave,
I
leave them
guess
to
yeah,
it, I guess.
the hydration element of it all. I guess it makes sense. It's particularly with yesterday. Not entirely certain with the other days, but I guess if it means that they can stay fit, then do whatever it takes. Something else I noticed during that game was Sheffield kind of went back to one of the tactics that a lot of the teams used to deploy against us when we first had De Gea, and they were absolutely packing De Gea, as in about 3-4 players with shoulders on him more or less from corners, because they were really trying to capitalize on the fact that he's been portrayed to have made a mistake the game before. Do you reckon teams going forward might try and do that? I actually thought we'd concede a goal this game just based on the fact that there'd been a lot of fuss the game before over his performance. So I was thinking, I don't know, maybe really won't
Um,
he still be in the correct mindset? But to be fair, I can't really say he was or he wasn't because he wasn't tested at all in this game.
yeah, I can't really say I noticed that, to be honest. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I mean, they had like I remember they had one chance or something after the drinks break, but I can't really remember much else, to be honest. I think yeah, they missed the spine of their team was different, right? They had no Henderson, they had no
Yeah,
O'Connell, Egan was suspended, and they're having to put like I was saying to you when I saw Jagielka in the lineup. I mean, no disrespect to him, he's had a great career, but he's 37 now, and I didn't even know he was still. I thought he'd retired a long time ago. And I've seen him in the starting lineup, and you start to think, okay, when you got Martial, Greenwood, Rashford running
yeah.
at him, I mean, it was just encouraging just from just seeing his name on the
I
lineup
think
was I
yeah, I
thought was
think
really
it
nice.
benefited as well because maybe if we had strikers like I don't know the more stationary type, big type strikers like I don't know Igalo, for example, I think maybe I'd give Jagielka then a chance. But when you're going up against Martial and Greenwood, this
Those
young,
two, yeah,
fast, pacey players going up against someone who's towards the end of their career, yeah, I'm always going to be in favor of the younger, faster uh, maybe sharper players. So Martial goes on to score a
yeah,
hat trick in this game, and it's Manchester United's first Premier League hat trick since Robin van Persie versus Villa to clinch a title, which is a bloody very long time ago. Um,
yeah. It's a long time ago. I also don't think it matters as much as people are making out to be. Um, I mean, yeah, it's a long time, but you know, it doesn't. It's not. I don't think it would have made that much difference to many
I'm
games.
not. I
Um,
think so a part of me thinks it is because if a player hasn't scored a hat trick in that long, it signifies that. Oh, sorry, in the Premier League, hasn't scored a hat trick in that long, it signifies we just don't have that kind of that strike off. Because something that was frustrating me in all this time, I'm not too sure exactly how many he scored, but I think Aguero scored a bunch of hat
yeah,
tricks since then.
he scored
Yeah,
11, I
yeah,
think, in that time.
which is crazy.
But I'd use two examples I'd give, I guess. So Ibrahimovic, he scored 28 goals that year. I don't really care that he didn't score a hat trick. I mean, he got one in the Europa League. It didn't really bother me that that he didn't score a hat trick. Lukaku, he got 27 in his season. Um, again, I mean, I wasn't really that bothered that he. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if do you remember that year Berbatov came joint
Yeah,
top scorer. He'd score like I think in one game against Blackburn he scored 5 goals, and then he wouldn't score again for the next
yeah,
five
yeah.
six games. I'd much rather he scored one in each of those rather than them all in one go. So yeah, I think the hat tricks they tend to be more of an individual thing because I can't remember too many games where there's been a hat trick and it's been in like a close game, for example.
Yeah.
You know, when you think back about like Van Persie's was a 3-0, Martial's yesterday was a 3-0. It's more like icing on the cake rather than game changer.
So Martial's
But
his third goal was a very nice finish. He's just waited for
yeah, it was a really nice move as
very
well. Yeah.
nice move. The way he just dinked it over the keeper. Simon Moore, who bless him, I said to you, I think he's got the worst job in the world.
The worst job, yeah, just playing 2 games a
Yeah,
season against
here you
United.
go, you go, Simon.
It's rough, right?
Get a goal, you play against United, and then he'll probably get cup games as well. But yeah, just when you've got a goalkeeper like Dean Henderson in ahead of you, you just got no chance of getting into the first team anyway. So Wan-Bissaka as well, he got an assist, which is good. We want to see more of that. We want to see him getting that final ball in a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I used to see him get quite a few assists at Palace. I think the thing he's been hamstrung by as well is our strikers not playing
Yeah.
like strikers. You know what I mean? Like if Martial played like that more often, Wan-Bissaka would just by virtue probably have more assists because he'd be in the right positions. I mean, he can go down the wing and cross it all day long, but if there's no one in the box to put it away, he can't just magic things out of nowhere.
So
Um,
moving forward, it looks
but
promising. If we can continue up our performances like over the more so the Sheffield game, but also the Tottenham game, because we didn't necessarily play bad. If we can continue that, then I'm very optimistic about the games ahead. So
yeah, I mean, we've got arguably the two hardest games out of the way, right?
yeah,
We don't have to play Wolves again,
thank God.
which is nice. We weren't sure about it last week, but I've checked. We might end up facing them in that round robin Europa League, but in terms of Premier League, we don't have to play them
Our
again.
toughest game remaining is probably
Um,
Leicester, which I think, if I'm right, is our final game.
Yeah, I think it's the last game and it's away. But again, the away thing is not that big of a deal
And that
anymore, I
could be
don't
a
think.
crucial game because we're 6 points behind them right now. And you never know,
Yeah,
but by that point we could.
I'd like to think if we're within a couple of points, I think we'd do the
Yeah,
job.
I'd imagine.
I mean, they've been disappointing since the turn of the
Yeah,
year,
for
right?
sure.
So Vardy stopped scoring, etc.
I'd imagine we'd be at least
Um,
3 points behind them at that point. So that could be a very crucial game.
yeah, I mean, so if we look at our upcoming fixtures, it's Norwich next, Brighton, Bournemouth, Villa, Southampton, Palace, West Ham. I mean, I'm honestly expecting now with everyone back fit, I'm expecting to win
Yeah,
all of
no,
those
there's no
games.
reason why we shouldn't. There isn't.
Um,
There's not a team there that I think player for player should match us. I'd be disappointed if we
yeah,
lost
I
any.
mean, like Brighton they played well against Arsenal, but it's Arsenal, right? Um, and then we struggled away from home there, but they went over their fans to keep them going. Bournemouth have been appalling recently, and especially since the restart. Which that reminds me, I just got to mention it. I think it's I don't really like to praise Liverpool, but whoever at Liverpool is responsible for getting 20 million for Solanke and what is it, 15, 16 million for Jordan Ibe. They got to get
Deserves a
credit for
pay
that.
raise. Yeah, to get 36 million joint out of that pairing, fair enough. I don't know how they made that deal, but there must have been.
I mean, Solanke's record, right? His entire career record, he's a striker, remember, is 9 goals in 93 games. 7 of those were in Holland when he was playing on loan there. So his record in English football is 1 goal. 2 goals in about 60 appearances.
That's incredible. Incredible. Not for good reason.
So, yeah. So that's 1 goal he scored for Liverpool in 27 games and 1 goal he scored for Bournemouth in 39 games. He didn't score for Chelsea. He only played once for Chelsea, so we'll let him off for that
Wasn't there some very early
one.
comparisons between him and was it Marcus Rashford when he came through on the scene?
So this is the crazy thing, right? So you think the way they talk about him, most people don't know he's older than Rashford.
How much older is he?
Yeah. Well, it's like a month, but he's still older than right? Like the way they talk about, well, especially when he was at Liverpool, they talked about this young guy coming through. You'd expect him to be younger than Rashford, but he's older than Rashford, and he's only scored two goals in England. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it shows the different. You know, it's frightening to think if he's worth 20 million or whatever. How much is Rashford worth?
I'd hate to think.
1 2 billion. I don't
So
know. Like,
moving forward, we've got
but yeah,
Norwich on the weekend in the FA Cup. So just for context, this season we've beat Norwich twice, 4-0 home, 3-1 away. The last round that Norwich played within the cup, they beat Spurs on pens. It was the game where
pens.
Eric Dyer went rogue um, and climbed into the
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the FA haven't sorted that out yet. Right, he's been charged, but they haven't
yeah.
banned him or anything, and it's been
I think
they've had like four and a
I
half
think
months
after
to figure something out.
after the lockdown, they just thought, yeah, everything else just doesn't count anymore. Um,
Yeah, maybe they were hoping that the season would just be finished and then they wouldn't have
yeah,
to deal with
somebody
it.
doesn't want to do any more admin
But
work.
yeah, you got to wonder why he was allowed to play
Yeah.
against us. But yeah,
The
never mind.
interesting thing about the FA Cup this year is probably the first time from my memory that, for example, if Arsenal beat Sheffield, so the remaining teams are Arsenal, Sheffield, City, Newcastle, Chelsea, Leicester, United, Norwich.
Yeah.
If Arsenal beat Sheffield, and it is a big if in current climate because Arsenal are having a great return back to football. But let's assume Arsenal beat
What was it? Two games, no wins, no
Sheffield.
draws, 2 defeats. I think that's pretty good for Arsenal.
So Arsenal, yeah, if they beat Sheffield, and we obviously would assume City beat Newcastle, Chelsea beat Leicester, I guess it could go either way. That's the first time in a long time that those all four teams, and obviously I'm assuming United win, that all four teams will be top six Premier League teams, which makes it interesting.
Well, Arsenal won't be right.
In my mind, I still
So
think
they
I agree.
Arsenal aren't even a
They
top
currently
half
sit
team
at
at the moment.
11th.
I think they're
Yeah,
11th at the moment. Oh, they're 10th. Sorry, they're 10th.
uh,
They're 10th on goal
they're 10th
difference.
because I think their game kicked off 12 minutes ago as we're recording, so they get default
Oh, it's
1 point.
kicked off already. Oh, that's why. That's what. Yeah. so,
So they snuck
so
into the top 10.
so they haven't. Uh, they snuck in. Apparently, they just had a goal disallowed. So that they're starting to get a bit better. But
Yeah, it'll be an interesting
yeah,
game.
I know what you mean though. Yeah, there's usually in recent years. I mean, what the last final was? What City Watford. There's tended to be a better team and a
Yeah,
rubbish team. Even like when we won, I say rubbish, that's a bit harsh, but there's
a lesser
a
team.
lesser
Yeah,
team. Sorry, like when we won it, it was United Palace. I think City have had a couple. I mean, there was when Wigan obviously beat them. That was a good
the
one.
last
But
like I'd say like top two teams final was probably the one we lost to Chelsea when Hazard scored that pen. But that's from recent
oh yeah,
from
Mourinho's one.
recent
Yeah,
memory. That's
that was
the
fairly recent, I guess. Conte's when Conte was still in
yeah.
charge, wasn't
But yeah, I'm expecting us to win that game. Probably the only thing I'd mention is I'm assuming Tim Krul will be in net for Norwich, and I know he is apparently
it? We don't want to
the
go to
king of
penalties.
saving penalties, because he stands about 2 yards off his line. Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't go to penalties, and then I think we should be quite happily through into the next round. So following that, we're playing Brighton in the league. Um, Brighton currently 15th place. They're coming off a little decent run. Well, decent run. They beat Arsenal. Morpay has been portrayed to be kind of the reincarnation of Diego Costa.
I mean, I don't know if you saw that. I don't really think he did anything too
I
bad.
think it happens week in week out. The striker has
Yeah.
to put a challenge on the goalkeeper.
Did he need to go into it for it? Maybe not, but
But there's a lot worse things that could
it's a
happen on the
physical
pitch, right?
game.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think he's got
exactly.
a fair reason
Yeah.
to challenge you. You've got to let the keeper know you're there to try and put him off in the future from coming out. Give yourself a chance. And also his post match little kind of interview was quite funny. He said I read an article. I'm not too sure how true it was, that apparently during the game Guendouzi made some comments about his salary compared to Morpay's salary.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, he the funny thing was what Morpay's interview at the end. He said he's not going to name the player because he's French as well, which kind of basically narrowed it down to Gendouzi. I think he's the only French player in the
I'm
Arsenal squad at the
not gonna
moment.
name
So
the player. His name begins with G, and he's got a lot of hair. Um,
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to name him, but he
yeah.
needs a haircut. something like
So
that.
then, but obviously Arsenal fans with the last laugh because Morpay missed a penalty against Leicester. Season highlight for Arsenal.
Yeah, I saw a tweet which kind of read, so United have that night in Barca, Liverpool that night in Istanbul, Chelsea that night in Munich, I think
Yep,
was where
it
they
was.
won it, and then Arsenal's is that time Mopé missed a penalty.
So,
that's the yeah, it's up there with the, so I think that and the Roy Keane rant, that's the two highlights of their season basically so far.
and So what are you expecting from that game? I'm expecting a win. I know Brighton have given us a bit of trouble in the last few games. I think we've won 2 in the last 4 against them. But I think that,
Yeah, we struggled away
yeah,
against them, but I think
without the
without the
fans.
fans, I'm not expecting
I
too much
agree. Yeah, I
trouble.
think without the fans, we
Um,
should have this one in the bag. They've having a good season, but I think when it comes from a player to player basis, which is the way I'm viewing games now post lockdown, we should win this game. Um,
yeah,
I would be comfortable. I'd say something like maybe a 2 or 3-0 win.
yeah, I think I'm predicting. So we've got 2 games before our next podcast, right? So I'm expecting wins from both Norwich and Brighton. I think it'd be nice to see a Garlo start in the cup, maybe. Um, just give some of the guys a rest. Because Norwich have got other priorities as well, so I don't know if they're even going to go all out for the cup. Although they do look like they're kind of
Yeah,
relegated
so I
already,
think they're
so maybe they'll want to
I,
go out with a bang
I
in the
think
cup.
they're
But
6 points from safety, and that part of the table is very volatile, up and down. Teams winning, losing, left, right, center. So maybe they will focus on the league
yeah,
and give us a chance like we need it. I sound very cocky. I'm hoping we win this. We'll probably go out and lose 2-0 now. But yeah, I'm confident we should win this. So next time that you hear from me and MT, we'll hopefully be gloating with 3 points and a win in
yeah. And
the next round.
if you don't hear from us again, that means we lost both games and we can't bear to
To face it.
can't bear to show our
Yeah,
faces again. Um, but yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything we wanted to go
sure.
through. I think there was one other thing, wasn't it? I can't remember now.
Was it Bruno Fernandes is the best player in the world?
Yes, that's it. No, it's Stephen
Yeah,
Ireland.
just saying.
I know you wanted to
So
say something
I
about
saw
him. The Man,
I
Man
saw
City
something very
legend.
interesting, and it was from
Uh,
the Athletic, which trusted source, friends of the podcast. That friendship is a one-way friendship between our podcast and this. Um,
yeah, we
Yeah,
subscribe to them. That's
but we
that's
take what they say as quite gold standard in terms of credibility. So, because if they hadn't, to be honest, I would have assumed that this was just somebody trolling on Twitter. So apparently,
yeah,
Bruno Fernandes had posters of Manchester City and Stoke City legend Stephen Ireland, who once infamously, I think he got himself out of training or a game by pretending his grandma had died. Twice,
twice.
okay, twice.
Twice. So I think that's when they caught him. Was the second time when they figured out.
He's running out of
Um,
grandma's sick leave.
uh,
So apparently,
basically,
Bruno Fernandes has
um,
had posters of him at Manchester City in his bedroom, and he really idolizes him. And he lives a couple doors away from him in Manchester, and has already offered
I
to
mean,
have a kickabout with his kids in the garden.
he was a good player. To be fair, I mean, he clearly hated football, but he was a good player. Um, and I can kind of see some similarities in how Bruno plays in that sort of number 10 role. And yeah, he certainly had some Manchester derbies where he did a good job against United. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the quote now, and I see that tag that says the Athletic, but it still just seems like nonsense to me.
How,
It just seems like maybe Bruno's just such a nice guy. He was like, "All right, this guy's a footballer, so I'm
he
just going to
probably
tell
just
him."
wants to be a nice
Yeah,
neighbor. Like, oh, he lives a couple doors down from me. I'll
yeah.
be nice to him.
And then he's just taking it a little bit to the extreme. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. Yeah, I had posters of you when I was
it's not the first name that
when
comes
I
to
was a
mind when
child.
I think if I think who
No, I'd be surprised if they actually even made Stephen Ireland posters. Maybe he had to make it himself,
printed it
but
off Google. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Super.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, so I guess yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, let us know. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're at Never Ignored or Never Ignored Pod. And yeah, leave us a review on iTunes or something. And I guess yeah, we'll see everyone next week.
Bye.